Welcome to It's Teal Time on 2 Local Radio. This is CT Jags, also known as Ray Ray. Tonight I was supposed to have Clyde Reeves. I don't know what the heck happened to him, but the show must go on. So here I am. I'm doing the damn show by myself. And I may in the future have another co-host if, Clyde decides not to do it, and Jacob Wolf. He goes by Bold City Digital on Twitter and the Jags forum, and he's a diehard Jags fan just like I am. And for those that don't know my story, I'm going to tell a little backstory on me. My name is CT Jags. I was originally a Philadelphia Eagle fan. But what happened was Rich Kotite came through. And when Rich Kotite came through, he decided to destroy my team at the time, which, had guys like Clyde Simmons and Randall Cunningham and all kinds of, great players on there like Reggie White. And he basically dismantled my team that I loved. And the thing about it is, I didn't want to be, known as the guy that just, follows, the crowd. And just follows, somebody else's team. Because really, the reason I was an Eagles fan to begin with is because it was my stepfather's team. And I always seeked his approval. And then we had a fallout. And, I'm like, you know what? I don't need his approval anymore. So I said, you know what? They destroyed the team that I watched and I loved. And I'm like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done until I can feel I can be a part of something that really matters. So what ended up happening is that, I found out, there were going to be two expansion teams, the Carolina Panthers and the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the thing was, I wasn't a big fan of, that light blue. And I loved, the symbol, for the Jaguars. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start following them. So from, the get-go, I was a Jags fan. I've seen, where Freddie T was called Fragile Freddie. And that was, by an absolute mistake because Coughlin didn't want to, put his biggest ace in the hole or, one of his best ideas and, kept on having teams prepared to face Freddie when Freddie was evidently injured. So he got stuck with that stupid name, which to this day, he's probably going to be snubbed out of the Hall of Fame. But, that's all right. I seen, Keenan McCardell and Jay Smooth or, Jimmy Smith. Jimmy Smith was one of them wide receivers that was phenomenal at what he did. He was originally drafted by the Cowboys, I believe. And then he was, picked up by the Jags. And he really, to this day, we have not had a wide receiver even come close. Some people are like, yeah, well, we had Matt Jones. But, I mean, really, who wants to deal with the Matt Jones charade? When we had Matt Jones, we had so many Arkansas fans that they weren't fans of the team. They were just fans of Matt Jones. Kind of like the dreaded TT name, which I'm not going to mention his name because, all his drones. It's not that they're bad players, but they're not, better than God. And because they're, their fan base makes them, seem better than they actually are. A lot better. Neither were, great. So, I mean, it is what it is and whatnot. And, we've had a lot of, good receivers. Reggie Williams wasn't bad, but he wasn't necessarily good. Mike Skywalker, who is Alfie's, favorite, receiver, or was at the time, and I was told by him that he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and it was totally false. But Mike Skywalker was a heck of a receiver, and David Garrard at the time did decide to put him out there sometimes. When he threw the pass, he did lead Mike into traffic. So I don't blame Mike entirely. I will say that he as much as he loved the game, he loved to, get in trouble. And that's the thing. When people talk about Jimmy Smith, they talk about, his, cocaine addiction and everything. They talk about, things that he did outside of, when he was playing football. But when it came to the field, that man was on point. He was ready for the next game. He wasn't getting suspended for, missing games, kind of like, who, Mike Skywalker? When he missed, the Seattle game. When we played him and whatnot. And really let us down. I had all the hopes in the world, for the next Jimmy Smith or the guy to come close in Justin Blackmon. But the problem is he can't figure out how to keep his head in the game. He can't figure out how to, stay sane or stable, per se. I mean, it's really sad because he's got all the talent in the world. He lost all the money that he had. And he's acting like he's got a bag of rocks for a brain. I can't understand that because Jay Smooth actually, told me on Twitter. And if you don't believe me, look at CT Jags' Twitter account, go all the way down, and you'll see that Jay Smooth did reply to me, or Jimmy Smith. And he did say, that Blackmon looked better coming out of college than he did. However, Blackmon couldn't keep his, head in the game. So I just don't see Jacksonville keeping him. And with Jacksonville not keeping him, well, he can't be the number one guy since Jimmy because he's just not on the field for Jacksonville. Now, could he go off and have a great career with somebody else? Yeah. Could this be a smokescreen and Jacksonville keep him? Yeah, but why would they draft two receivers in the second round then? Two dynamite, receivers. It was funny. I was looking, at the highlight films or, the coach tape from just a non-expert, just a regular, Jags fan. And the funny thing about it is, basically, I don't, we all, I'm just going to come out and say it. Our coach tape or highlight film is basically just YouTube or anything we see on like Fox Sports or, any of them programs or NFL.com. But from what I've seen, you have two very dynamite receivers. One in Lee. What I've seen from Lee is he's got excellent explosion. He's got excellent, vision as far as once he catches the ball, he is gone. Doesn't matter if there's 20 people in front of him, he can maneuver in and out like a freaking ping pong ball. And then on the other end, you have Robinson. And Robinson basically is built like a tank as far as his power that you may not see, based on his build, but he knocked over a lineman like he wasn't crap. He knocked over his own lineman, running. He hit him like a damn freight train. To top that off, he makes dazzling plays. This dude has got, all the power in the world. He's got the power of a Mack truck and can make, catches that are unbelievable. So I believe this is going to be an exciting team. The reason I believe this is going to be an exciting team is because I know exactly where to put Robinson. He is listed on the Jags website as a receiver, as he should be. The reason he should be a receiver is because you can have him be the guy from the backfield that will catch the ball if none of your other options are open, and Robinson can, with the speed, can get down the field with the quickness. You can also line him up as a tight end, such as I'm trying to think of the Wilford. You can line him up as a tight end like you did with Wilford. And then he can make all kinds of plays for you. because Robinson, is really a diverse playmaker. He was originally a quarterback. He was turned into a running back, but really he's, a hybrid, running back receiver such as a Percy Harvin, but he's like a really, really poor man's Percy Harvin. Because Robinson can catch if need be. You can have him, in the backfield, and I just think it's very exciting because you have, Sanders who could line up in a slot. You have Sanders who could do the flea flicker. You have Sanders who, could run up, could be the guy in the middle. And then you have Shorts who, let me explain Shorts. Shorts has turned into a really good number 2 receiver. The first year, that he was in the league, I didn't expect him to be a number anything receiver. He was a deer lost in the headlights. If you've seen him on some of the kickoff returns and the punt returns that he was back there, he didn't know what the heck he was doing. And then when he did make plays, he wasn't out making that many plays and everything. So you're wondering, okay, is Shorts really a good, Gene Smith pickup or not? Yeah, and I know I went there. I mentioned the dreaded GS word. But, it makes you think, okay, Shorts has gone through a lot, a heck of a lot, because he went from a guy that seemed like he's lost in, like a deer in the headlights to forced to be the number 1 because Blackman's out. And then forced to be the number 1 again because Blackman's out. And he's done a terrific job considering. Now, is he a number 1 and is he against, top cornerback? No. He's not a number 1 receiver. But there's nothing against the guy. The guy came from, a very, very low division school. And it takes time. He's not going to get it, right away. And even so, there's nothing wrong with being a number 2 receiver. However, that was the problem because we did not have a number 1 receiver. Now, I can see, Lee possibly as that number 1 receiver if he can learn the right pace and if he, gets it in time. I can't call him the number 1 receiver right now. It's definitely Shorts. And then would probably be Sanders or, Brown. But, the Jags are looking a hell of a lot better than they did last year. The main reason why they're looking a hell of a lot better than they did last year is because of the guy that they have, Blake Bortles. Blake Bortles, I did not know much about. I'm not going to lie. When it came down to drafts and people were asking about quarterbacks and, Bridgewater, I was like, yeah, but he's not in the pick number 3. And they asked about, Johnny, and I'm like, yeah, he would work because he can move in the pocket, but some are saying he's TT number 2. And that's very well possible. Or he can be, go on to be, the next great elusive, quarterback like a Colin Kaepernick or a Russell Wilson, type quarterback. But the problem is he's a smaller quarterback, and it seemed in a lot of videos that I watched or highlight films, which are just YouTubes, I don't care what anybody says. That's basically what they are, and that's the bottom line about that. Is, he seemed like he got bailed out a lot. If you watch the highlight film by Mike Evans, I think Mike Evans did a terrific job of, finding a way to get open, and he made Johnny Football look better than he actually is. Now, is that the case? We don't know. We will find out. But Johnny Football right now is fighting a losing battle with Gordon, suspended. But I don't like talking about that because they're not Jags. Now, Blake Bortles here's what I like about Blake Bortles. For one, he practiced and went through the combine, and he didn't have to. But he felt, the need to. Number two, I looked at the sports science, and I realized that there's really no pressure in the guy's face, even when they have them fake defenders coming to him. But he was impressive. I also seen the other drill where he hit all of them, 10 for 10. And with, on one end, that's highly impressive. On the other, you don't have anybody coming at you. But what I do like about Blake, as I looked at more film, or actually YouTubes, is if you look in the South Carolina game, there were plays where he had 3 guys coming out of him, coming out at him. And he reminded me a bit of how Brunell would get out of the way and still complete the pass. So he also reminded me in a way of how, David Garrard could, run for extra yards if he needed to be. But what I liked most about him is his accuracy. Now, some people are going to say, well, yeah, he's raw and his accuracy isn't that great. However, what you have to realize is Brett Favre is one of them guys that would just throw the ball up. Now, when Brett Favre threw the ball up, it was not perfect to the receiver. What it was he put it a little far out there so that wide receiver could make the play. It was far enough where the defender could not catch the play. So I can see, in a way, him being like a Favre. His style. Another thing I love about Blake Bortles, he did not have to go into the fans or into the crowd to the Bold City Brigade and take a picture with them. He did not have to shake their hands. He did. Everything about Blake makes you realize that he wants to be a Jaguar. He wants to be on the team. He wants to be the man. He's in tune with the fans. He is really just all about, he kind of acts like not the star quarterback, but the guy that's, watching the games. Or, the very emotional fan. Because if you look at him in a lot of ways, he's just in awe of himself. It's like, I can't believe I'm here. Where most football players or most quarterbacks are like, yeah, I'm the man and I'm the shit and everything. He's like, this is awesome. This is a great experience and I can't believe I'm part of such a great organization. If you don't believe it, look at the, highlight films, which are just YouTubes or NFL.com videos. And you'll see. Listen to the interviews. You can tell the dude is genuine. It's not just coach speech. Most quarterbacks are just coach speech. Most quarterbacks will say anything just to say something. Blake Bortles wants to be the franchise leader. And I firmly believe that if Blake Bortles this year, learns the playbook well enough. And not only does he learn the playbook well enough, but he, gets in sync with the guys, and he is head and shoulders better than Sid Henne. Blake will not learn anything by sitting on the sidelines with Chad Henne. He won't. Chad Henne has been the, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde of the NFL. I don't hate the guy. I wish he would succeed. But he didn't, when it came to, huge games, for the most part, he didn't in Michigan. He didn't in Miami. And now in Jacksonville, it's more of same old song and dance. That's no disrespect to Henne. He is what he is. But if Bortles is better, he needs to play. And I know some people are going to be like, no, that can't be the case. That can't be the case because that's going to ruin him, just like it did Gabbert. And on one end, you can say, yeah, well, it could. But I highly doubt it. I highly doubt that it's going to ruin him because he's not the same mold. He is a lot tougher. And I'm not saying Gabbert was weak. There's some people that are saying Gabbert was weak, but I watched Houston hit him in the knees and the head, and he still came back and played that game. But that's all I'm going to say about him, because he's no longer a Jaguar. But Bortles seems really tough. He seems elusive in the pocket. That was the thing. On the videos that I watch, which are just basically YouTubes, like everybody else, that claims that they got coach film, but unless you're David Colwell or Gus Bradley or Shad Khan or anyone in the Jaguars, organization or anyone else in the NFL or, in the college level, you don't have film. You have highlight films that people upload. So some of them make people look better than what they actually are. But it is what it is. And we have what we have to work with. And those that, got to watch the games, that's great. But what I'm seeing out of Bortles is heart. I'm seeing the desire to never give up. I seen where he was down 21 points and he still threw the ball to his receiver and acted like, he was right back in the game. And that's what you need. That in the NFL, that is what you need. You need the guy that's hungry. You need the guy that's willing to do what he can and never give up. Never get frustrated or, flustered or anything of that sort. The thing is, on the interceptions, if you watch the, South Carolina game, they're not necessarily his fault. You had a guy rushing in his face not even 2 feet away, and he threw the ball off and did the best he could. He couldn't step into the pocket because there was nowhere to... What's he going to do, step into the defender and take the sack? He's very elusive, and I just think that he's got a heart of a lion in Bortles, and that he was a proud pickup. Now here's the deal. There are going to be some people out there that are going to be like, yeah, but he was a reach. And I'm going to turn around and say, well, I looked at many mock drafts, many, including Walter Football. Walter Football, for a long while, had Blake Bortles ranked number 1 in the draft. And there was an inside source from Houston. They may actually take Blake Bortles. So if he could have went 1 in the draft and we got him at 3, it would be a value. Now, of course, you're going to watch, the ESPN experts and the NFL experts and say, well, they're saying that it was a reach. But even if it was a bit of a reach, the NFL.com made a good point. The point that they made is this. They said if Jacksonville cannot get as high as they want, what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to wait to round 2 to grab the guy that's not there? Are they supposed to believe that he's going to be there, past Houston? Because I'm going to tell you one thing. If Houston was going to take him at 1, they're going to take him first in the second round. He's not going to make it to Jacksonville. Period. So they would have had Clowney and Bortles. Think about that. This Jacksonville team, I'm loving. I'm loving because I'm loving what they're doing. Some people are like, well, yeah, we didn't draft the pass rusher in the first round. And Khalil Mack was a very interesting, prospect. But Jed Fish said it best when he said this. Jed Fish said it is a quarterback league. Now, if it's a quarterback league, all the defenders in the world ain't going to matter because it's still a quarterback league. You have to win with the quarterback. You need a quarterback. We had no quarterback. We had nobody behind Henny. So you had to draft the quarterback. Why not draft the quarterback right away? And then why not give him options, in round 2? You grab the 2 receivers, the one from Penn State and Robinson. And then you have, the one from Cal, Southern Cal, and Lee. We really have to be very thankful that Lee dropped that far. I don't know why Denver didn't grab him. I don't know why the other teams didn't grab him. I don't know why Houston didn't grab him. I mean, the top teams, let him slide. Probably because his last year wasn't so hot. Well, he was coming off an injury and had a different quarterback. It happens. And if people think I'm rambling on or anything, I do apologize. I don't have a co-host. Hopefully in the future, if I'm hoping that, Clyde just had some come up and he actually still wants to do this. If that's the case, well, then he'll be joining me next week. If not, maybe, Jacob Wolf, our Bold City Digital, will be joining me in the future. At some point, somebody will be joining me or I'll be doing this every week myself because I don't make a promise to people and then don't keep it. I just don't do that. I run a radio show. We are actually on Reverb Nation, if you look under, 2 Local Radio, and we have online submissions. So there are bands that are going to be, featured in our show. There's 8 ones that we're going to pick, after the 60-day period, and we're going to have one each week, as well as our comedy show and everything. And I didn't have to do this, but I love the Jags. I absolutely love the Jags. I love where they're going. I love the fact that we're finally going to shut the big mouths up when they're saying that Jacksonville is moving somewhere else. They're not going to L.A., people. They're not. And they're not going to England. They're not. You're not going to put a pool, literally a pool, and put the biggest scoreboards ever, out of everywhere, up if you're moving. You're not. Makes no sense. No sense at all. It's a waste of time for people that think, that it makes sense. But the whole thing is this. I'm tired of people, talking about, ticket sales. Jacksonville has not had a blackout in 6 years now? Jacksonville's record since then has been shit. I mean, ever since Gene Smith took over, okay? We had 2007, which we, lost to the New England Patriots by 11. 11 fucking points. And how do I know this? Because I'm a true fan. 2008, it went downhill. When, Gene took hold of it, did we even have a team that went 500? Maybe 1 year. And the rest of the time, it was just garbage. Now, I'm not going to blame Jack, though I'm not going to speak much about Jack. Jack and his chopping wood was good. He did what he had to do with what he had to work with. But that's the end of Jack. Jack's not here. Gus is here. Let me tell you about Gus. Gus Bradley, when he walks in a room, from every video that I've seen, from all the audio that I've heard, everything that I've, read on Twitter and on, Jaguars.com called The Jungle or Big Cat Country, which, by the way, has their own Bold City football show with Alfie and Cap, who Cap we did interview a while back. And he is like one of the, main, founders of the Bold City Brigade. Bold City Brigade is a huge, and I mean huge, fan club for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are, they run the 1,000-man march, or 1,000-people march, let me rephrase that, up to the stadium. They are very awesome for, as far as fans. You couldn't get any cooler. You couldn't get any better than the Bold City Brigade, but I'm not going to leave out the Teal Street Hooligans because they're just as awesome. We had a chance to tailgate with both of them. I did some videos. And if anyone has any problems with any of the videos that I did or feel that they're offensive or anything, come to me and let me know. And I'll make sure that they're not tagged to you. But I'm not taking them down because there's such thing as freedom of speech and everything else. And they show Jacksonville, and how cool is that? And show people partying and doing the Jaguars, chant. The Jaguars, Jaguars, and everything. And it's a lot of fun. The whole thing about it is that Jacksonville is different. I've been to many, football games or different, types of football games and different types of fans. And in Jacksonville, everybody's laid back. So if you want to be a part of, the Bold City Brigade or the Teal Street Hooligans, you can. But if you don't and you're just there, no one's going to bug you and be like, okay, well, why aren't you up here with... No. They're cool like that. They want you to be a part, but they're not forcing you to do it. This isn't New York. Nobody's going to get up in your face and be like, all right, well, you're either a Jags fan or not. But, we had the pleasure of tailgating with them, and we wouldn't trade it for the world. I also want to, since I'm talking about, diehard Jags fans, I want to, talk about this guy. His name is Charlie. Now, Charlie is what I call a legend as far as a Jaguars fan. He's been there, a good 15, 20 years. He might have even been season ticket holder since day one. But he has, custom shirts that say, the 12th man. And I'm sure he had it before, the Seahawks, stole that idea. He has a Jaguar painted face. He's got a Jaguar hat. But it looks like a Jaguar. It doesn't look like a, a fake, replica. He, on certain game days when he was younger, would, paint himself in the Jaguar colors. He's been a season, ticket holder forever. But more than that, he just has an outstanding love for the Jaguars. Now, we had a chance to, go to a party of his. I wouldn't trade it for the world. None of my family would trade it for the world. He was a heck of a host. He treated us like we've been members since day one. Which we have been Jaguars fan. Well, I have been a Jaguar fan for, since, day one. But, I was not in Jacksonville since day one. Right now, I'm not in Jacksonville either, unfortunately. However, I did spend a lot of time out there, and I do plan on going to, a game or two out there, and probably, a game out here. I'm that big of a fan. As long as the finances afford it and everything, but people are like, yeah, get to your point. My point is, Charlie is a phenomenal host and a phenomenal person. He is the, what a Jags fan should be, per se. Not saying that anybody else don't matter, because that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the passion, the excitement, and everything that he has for the Jags is really unmatched. When the Jags are getting screwed, he gets angry about it. When, the Jags make a good play, he's excited, like really excited. For somebody to go through all them years of losing and still be just as excited as day one, and I'm not saying the Bold City Brigade or the, Teal Street Hooligans are not. I'm just saying the fact that he is so exciting to, to talk with. He has so many freaking stories, of what a Jags fan is like. And I can't wait to, interview him on this show or, something. If you ever get a chance to meet Charlie, please do. The guy is amazing. But going back to what I was saying about, Gus Bradley. Gus Bradley, when he walks in a room, he's just eccentric. He has a real vision. He's assembled a real coaching staff to meet his vision. And his goals. Well, between him and Dave Colwell. Colwell actually hired him, but, Gus had, his input. And he's really got this plan. And when he says, just do your job, I'm sure everybody's seen that video. And, do better every day, he means it. And as long as the Jags don't quit, which if you've seen the season last year, they did not quit. They're doing their job and getting better every day. So I could see, Gus Bradley being a coach for Jacksonville for a long time. But that is providing the same thing with Dave Colwell. Providing that Blake Bortles is the real deal. Because it hinders upon the quarterback. It always hinders upon the quarterback. If the quarterback sucks, you're gone. Sucks, but that's just the way it is. But, I'm going to touch base on, another thing here. And I know it seems like I'm going all over the place. But these are just strong convictions, and how I feel. Everybody's got their strong convictions, and I'm no expert in any way, shape, or form. And some people are like, well, then why are we going to bother listening to you? Well, maybe because I'm funny, maybe because I am informative as an average fan, and maybe because I do provide an outlet where a normal fan could come on, and a bunch of them could come on and share their stories. If they choose not to share their stories, and not tell about their experiences, then that's on them. But this outlet is here, and it will be here every Monday, even if I got to run it my damn self. And even if I only have one listener, so be it. I don't do this for popularity contests or anything else. I do this because I'm in love with the Jags. I want to say this. I want to say as far as our running backs. And I know I did skip over our defensive ends, and I'll get back to that. But as far as our running backs, Gerhardt, I like the kid, or the guy. I like him a lot. I like him because he reminds me of a Michael Allstott. I like him because he's got a lot of power to his running. And if I'm not mistaken, he scorched us a time or two when we played them. When we played Minnesota. Yeah, we had a shitty team, but nonetheless, I believe he did. I see him as a very good running back. He is not Fred Taylor. If you're looking for Fred Taylor, it's not him. If you're looking for Maurice Jones-Drew, it's not him either. He has his own element. I think what he brings to the table is power running. I don't see him running to the outside and dancing around and making all kinds of moves like, Fred Taylor did. And at the same time, I don't see his first step as fast as when Mojo started. I don't. However, what I do see from him is a very power running game. With the line we have, he's the perfect running back. Because we need somebody to be able to plow, through the defenders. We need someone that also has speed, which he does have really good speed. But for the most part, be able to, plow through the defenders. And people are like, yeah, that's what Mojo did. Yeah, it is, but Mojo was lower to the ground, so there's going to be, a difference to his, running game. I also, if I'm not mistaken, he does have, pretty good hands, too. So, in a way, he could be a receiver out of the backfield as well, or another weapon. And by far, no. I won't go there. Everybody says that, Gerhardt will be the, lead horse, and it's not even close. I don't think so. I don't think that Gerhardt, or, Gerhardt, however you pronounce his name. If I'm pronouncing his name wrong, I do apologize. I don't necessarily say he's by himself as far as, competition. I firmly believe there's something special about Jordan Todman. And that's not just because he, graduated from UConn and I am originally from CT. I did see a lot of Todman, though. And that's not a lot. In CT. And when people, say that, Storm Johnson's going to knock him out of the butt, no, not going to happen. People also want to downgrade, Todman's 100-plus yard rushing game and say, well, it was against a terrible defense. Terrible defense or not, it's still an NFL defense. And the worst NFL defense can destroy the best college football team. And until they play each other, and I'm showing otherwise, that's what I will believe. Even though there's times I get mad like everybody else and be like, you know what? I bet Alabama could whoop the fucking Jags ass the way they're playing. But the reality of it, they wouldn't. Nor would LSU or Florida Gators or the Tennessee Vols or any of them. Not going to happen. So, worst team or not, or one of the worst defenses or not, Todman, with a shitty line, mind you, scored over, had over 100 yards rushing. And you have to remember, that's off of, secondhand reps. He's not the, feature back when Mojo was there. He wasn't. With Robinson back there, he wasn't. But he did everything that was asked. In preseason, people are like, yeah, well, he, scored touchdowns against second and third stringers. That's who he was up against. What do you expect him to do? He can't play against first stringers if they don't put him against first stringers. Duh. But I'm not going to sleep on Todman. I think Todman is a very eccentric back in the fact of he's a lot faster than people give him credit for. He's more elusive than people give him credit for. And he was the number 3, I believe, in the country in college as far as running backs when he played on the whole NCAA. I could be wrong, but he was up there. And he did single-handedly win that Cincinnati game against the Bearcats. Knowing that it was going to go to Todman, and Cincinnati does not have a small, defense. They have a very powerful, defense, a very powerful team. They're not like an old West Virginia that was a speed team or an old Michigan team. They are a very power, team. Very big, and he scorched them. Basically, single-handedly, he scorched them. And they knew it was going to him, and he still scorched them. So I'm not going to sleep on Todman. I will not sleep on Todman. Johnson, however, does seem intriguing. I did see what he did, with Bortles. I did see where, he ran like 90 yards, off a simple dump pass. I did see that. I do know the power that Storm, possesses. I think he will be great in the rotation. I think Gerhardt, Todman, and Storm is your rotation. I think you take Robinson, you designate him as a wide receiver / tight end / I wouldn't really say a fullback, but I put him back in the field if, on certain plays. I think you're going to see a lot of that. I think you're going to see a lot of, Jed Fish is showing a powerful, offense like a Carmichael. For like Pete Carmichael for the Saints. I can see a very, a different kind of offense. I don't see this run 90% of the time or 80% of the time and pass 20% once Bortles is out there. I think it's going to be strong passing mixed in with some rushing because that's the new NFL. And I believe that Jedfish is going to be very creative and put people all over. I wouldn't be surprised if Robinson's lined up over as a tight end. I wouldn't be surprised if, Sanders is, put in the backfield. I wouldn't be surprised, with a lot of different ways. I wouldn't be surprised if things are switched. If, Shorts is the number one on one play, and then Lee's the number one on another play, and then, Robinson's the number one on a different play. I would not be surprised. I think Jedfish is one of the most intriguing offensive coordinators. But that's all I'm going to say about him as far as this show. Now, going back, if you go back to the free agents, and I didn't forget, people were pissed, that we didn't take a, defensive end in the draft, and rightfully so. However, early in the draft anyway. However, if you have an opportunity for a quarterback, you take him. And I kind of saying, well, if Clowney was there, that would be different. But he wasn't, so I'm not going to go that route. I will say I am very excited what Dave Caldwell and Gus Bradley and everything did, in free agency. Very excited. Because Chris Clemens, older or not, is still a great or, a really good defensive end. And then you re-sign Babin. So now not only do you have in the backfield, you've got Chris Clemens and you've got Babin. And then you've got, Branch still learning, but can sub in. And then you have Red Bryant, who you can also stick in not only defensive end, but you could also stick at the defensive tackle. And then what really intrigues me is Ziggy Hood. Ziggy Hood coming out of college was a beast. However, I think he played in the wrong system. Playing in the wrong system, he didn't turn out as good as he could. And I think in the defensive, tackle position, he will work really well. I think I'm not going to say Stroud Henderson, what we got back there. I'm not going to say that. What I am going to say is if Ziggy Hood pans out, along, with the guy that we resigned last year, and I just can't think of his name, offhand, and I do apologize. If they pan out, and then you've got Clemens, you've got Babin, and you've got Bryant, and you've got Branch that you can send at any friggin' time, along with, some other guys, that you can send in. You've got a heck of a defensive squad. Now, I will say the following draft, I still would draft a high-end, defensive end, because people are getting older. However, right now, I think that that group right there could keep some games very close. And they will provide the extra pressure that they originally did not have last year. Last year, like many years before, the quarterback had all fucking day to throw it. Well, our quarterback had 5 seconds, except for the time where Chad Henne had Jeff Lageman literally was counting Mississippi's, and he still had the ball in his hand. If Chad Henne is the quarterback this year, I'm all for him. I hope he wins as many games and he's not, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. However, Bortles plays better than him. I mean, lights out as far as the preseason. He should play. And I know many people are going to disagree and many people are going to cut in. And if you're one of them people, you're welcome anytime that, be like, hey, I disagree. You can call in anytime, 1-855-403-9071. And you could say, yeah, you're full of shit. There's many people that say, hey, sit Bortles. Let him sit for a year. For what? What is he going to learn from Chad? We don't have Brady back there. We don't have Favre back there. It's not Steve Young. It's not Joe Montana. It's not Dan Marino. It's not Troy Aikman. Though Troy Aikman's a real question because of the fact of he had such a good team around him. You have to wonder was he. I'm not going to get in that. But the point is, even a Bledsoe. We don't even have a equal out to a Bledsoe back there right now. Chad Henne was a little better than Blaine Gabbert, and Blaine Gabbert was garbage. What's that tell you? Or you could say the line was garbage, and that's a very intriguing thing, and you can mention that, and I'll agree. I definitely will agree that the line was garbage. But I mean, I just think that the Jags are 100 times better than they were, or at least 10 times better. I think that in another year or two, we could be looking at the playoffs. I think we could be a real threat to Houston or to Indy as far as, taking the division within the next few years. Providing that Watt and freaking Clowney aren't freaking sacking our quarterback every 2 seconds. That is unbelievable. But that won't last forever anyway because there's no way they're going to keep both Watt and Clowney. So that was kind of pointless for them to take Clowney, knowing that there's no way they're going to be able to re-sign both. That's just not going to happen. So ultimately what's going to happen, they're going to end up in a Cowboys situation where the Cowboys had to let go where? So it is what it is. But I went 52 minutes here, and I really don't have a Jags song this week to put up, so I'm just going to end this early. I normally go at least an hour, but for tonight I'm going to end this early. I'm going to say that the Jags are looking a hell of a lot better. The offseason's very intriguing. I really hope that Blackman thing is a smokescreen and that when he comes back and plays his heart out and it's for the Jags. Because can you imagine if Blackman gets his head together, okay? Of course you're going to have to cut somebody or cut a few people. But imagine if you had Blackman there and with all the talent in the world and he gets his head together. Okay, and they give him one final chance, and he does well. And you have Shorts back there. And then you've got Robinson and Lee and Sanders. There's your 5 guys right there. In any order. And that is the new Robinson and not Denard. In that case, if you still don't have a tight end, other than, Lewis, that's, really great. You'd stick Robinson there, or you'd try to find somewhere to put him. I don't even know how long, Denard Robinson's going to be on the team, to be honest with you. I just don't know where they can put him at. Outside of, if Blackman were to come and it's based on receivers, do you keep Robinson over Blackman? Do you keep Robinson over the other Robinson? Do you keep Robinson over Lee? Do you keep Robinson over Shorts? Or do you keep Robinson over I don't see anywhere. Maybe you put him as a 6 guy if you go 6 wide. I know you can't go 6 wide, but I'm saying as far as the rotation, if you're going to go with 6 receivers. I think you might end up the odd man out altogether. That's sad because I really had high hopes for him. Maybe if you could, stash him somewhere so he's a returner. But you just grab Lee, and Lee's got great return skills. But if Lee ends up the number one, then they're not going to have him out there as a returner. That would just be stupid. But imagine if you had all them guys on the same page. You talk about an explosive offense. It's damn near unstoppable. You get another, guard in there and a center. We have to, at some point we have to get a center. That's unless the guy that we grabbed late ends up a steal. I still don't see a center. I don't see where Brewster, based on his playing last year, how he's going to be a great center. I could be wrong. I could be way off. But I don't see how he's going to be. But imagine if Blackman came back and they don't get rid of him. It's all a smoke screen and he gets his head on the game. How explosive that would be with all them guys. Now, eventually, we'd have to let somebody go. But it would be a fun few years, I'll tell you that much. But anyway, this is CT Jags, and I'm out of here. Thank you for joining us for Teal Time on 2 Local Radio. Hope you come back next week. And if I did a shitty job, I apologize. I'm running on the spur of the moment with no co-hosts, just doing what I can. See you all next week, 11 p.m.